Okay, I want to review a book and talk a little bit about reloading black powder cartridge rifles. Now, the book I'm talking about here is this one here. It's the loading cartridges for the original 4570 Springfield Rifle and Carbine by J.S. and Pat Wolf. I got this on Amazon.com, like where I get most of my books. Just look it up. It's there. It's not that expensive when you buy it directly from Pat Wolf. I guess J.S. has passed away, but he started this work a few years ago. And let me explain what this is. This is not really a manual on how to load black powder cartridge guns. What this is this guy wrote this book, did a lot of research, and what he explains is how to replicate come close to replicating identically the cartridges that the government used back in the 1870s, 1880s to fire in these guns. That is what his goal is. He tries to match the government records for velocity and everything else. This is not how to be a match shooter. This is not pertaining to a more modern gun, because it's covered in here. This is an outstanding book if you're interested in loading black powder rifle cartridges. Now, what the problem is, a lot of us collect our old military guns. And we have our Verndals, we have our Mannlichers. They're black powder guns. I know some of us have the Remington Rolling Blocks, which are Norwegian and a different thing. I have Argentine model and 43 Spanish. There's the Egyptian calibers. Remington made a lot of those old rolling blocks. You can get them fairly reasonable and good shape and usable shape, and it's a neat way to get into the hobby. I never really was interested in the trapdoor guns. I know people are into the Snyders, and with that one company that imported all of the British Mark IIs and Mark IVs rifles, there's a bunch of these shootable black powder guns around. And even so much now as people are making the dies and everything for them. Well, the reason I got into this, or I decided to work with 4570s, is when you go onto the online auction. This here is a 1873, and as you can see, I'm going to be doing videos on the different rifles and that. When I went on the gun broker and typed in trapdoor, there's 113 guns up for auction, ranging anywhere from $4,000 to $200. Of course, $200 ones are junk and not really usable in any way, shape, or form, and are cut down and rusted to hell. But you can still find some of these guns in shootable condition at a reasonable price. You know, hopefully under $1,000. This one here I got at an auction. I kind of paid a good price for it, but there's some problems. I mean, outside it's, excellent, fine condition. But I got some problems around the chamber area and the bore. So, that kind of stalled out on this. But the other thing is, say you go to buy this 11mm Verndal, or for the Verndal, I don't know the designation. You can get Bertram brass, or you can get it made from Buffalo Arms. At roughly, I think I paid $60 or $70 for 20 empty cases of Bertram brass. 4570, it's $30 for 100 of them. There's a ton of bullet molds out there, different designs and shapes, and you can get custom molds very easily made for the 4570. So I'm going to try to work on this and hone my skills at reloading black powder and bullet alloys. That's why all the videos of bullet casting and leading, and work it on down to where it's less expensive than that to work with a 45-70 original gun, and there's pros and cons with that too. The book covers that, okay, very much. These original military guns are much different than a modern, say, there's a lot of Sharps replicas out there, there's Remington Roll and Block replicas out there, and there's even trapdoor replicas being made. The rifling and the barrels in that are a bit different than the more modern guns. The groove diameter in that, and the type of rifling. This book here is very specific. The guy did a lot of research. He replicates the original ammo. And there's a lot of things in here, and this is getting to where it's complicated. You go online and find a lot of people loading black powder cartridges for competition using these custom built guns, and they have ways of doing it. This guy here, if you read this book, the one thing that's real good is he explains about compressing the black powder and making your measurements and getting it all to where you achieve your accuracy. Most people will tell you that they don't really size the gun, don't use a crimp. They use some kind of compression. He uses pretty heavy compression, and he crimps the bullet. And a lot of people use a wad of some sort underneath the base of the bullet to protect it. This guy throws all that out the window. He just uses the right soft alloy, the proper lubricant, the bullet size, and the technique that he gets into detail of using, gets the bullet in there without deforming it, set, crimped, and there's no use of blow tubes, drop tubes, or any of that, you know, which a lot of black powder cartridge people go through that thing with the big drop tubes and everything. It's really good, a lot of information about loading black powder cartridge rounds. Now, the one thing a lot of us, with our old military guns, is they're all have a neck or a shoulder. They're not straight wall cartridges, where 45-70 is. So you got to, the technique in loading these bottleneck cartridges is a little bit different. You have to watch out. And I'm going to do some videos and explain. And as I go along, I'll try to show how my progress is in my experiments. A lot of information. I've been studying a lot of information, books and that. I read another book on loading black powder cartridges years ago that, the guy explained the use of drop tubes and all that other stuff and everything. And this is a little bit different. This is a different take. So, I'm not trying to knock anybody's method or technique, but that's just what we're working on. Excellent book, Loading Cartridges for the Original 45-70 Springfield. If you want to load an exact duplication of what was issued to you for this gun over 100 years ago, this is the book to get. But there's a lot of good information and a lot of technical stuff in here about loading black powder cartridges, which, if you're into it and want to be good at it, this is the book to get. A lot of good information in there.